In 1991, a landmark lawsuit by the Sierra Club against the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service ignited a fierce legal battle over the Edwards Aquifer, permanently changing how Texas manages its most precious subterranean water resource for future generations. Spanning 3,625 square miles, the Edwards Aquifer is a complex limestone karst system in south-central Texas that functions as a massive, natural underground reservoir, providing essential drinking water for San Antonio and vital irrigation for surrounding agricultural regions. Before modern regulation, Spanish explorers and early settlers in the 18th century relied on the abundant, crystal-clear discharges from the Comple and San Marcos springs, viewing the water as an inexhaustible gift of nature provided by the vast Texas landscape. During the brutal Drought of Record that began in 1956, the aquifer plummeted to historic lows, exposing the extreme vulnerability of the region and forcing a realization that the water supply was not infinite, but rather a finite, fragile commodity. In 1993, the Texas legislature enacted Senate Bill 1477, creating the Edwards Aquifer Authority to manage withdrawals, a move that fundamentally challenged the traditional rule of capture, which historically granted landowners near-absolute rights to pump unlimited groundwater. The Edwards Aquifer sits beneath the Balcones Escarpment, stretching from Bracketville in the west to Salado in the north, with San Antonio serving as the primary urban center dependent on this life-sustaining, porous limestone formation for its daily survival. By the late 19th century, the rapid expansion of rail lines and industrial agriculture intensified groundwater extraction, creating the first significant tensions between private property rights and the collective need for a stable, long-term water supply for the growing state. The 20th century brought an urban explosion to San Antonio, where rapid population growth and industrialization transformed the aquifer from a local agricultural asset into a critical lifeline for millions of residents, necessitating a new, centralized approach to management. In 1991, the Sierra Club sued to enforce the Endangered Species Act, arguing that excessive pumping was destroying the habitat of endemic species, which eventually led to the creation of the EAA and a new era of strict oversight. The oil and gas boom of the mid-20th century further strained the region's infrastructure, as economic development demanded even greater water volumes, placing unprecedented pressure on the aquifer's natural recharge zones and the delicate ecological balance of the springs. For decades, hydrologists warned that the rule of capture was ecologically unsustainable, yet these warnings were largely ignored by policymakers until the threat of federal intervention under the Endangered Species Act made reform an absolute political necessity for Texas. The 1996 Texas Supreme Court case, Barshop v. Medina County, resolved years of intense constitutional litigation by affirming the state's authority to regulate groundwater to prevent waste, effectively ending the era of unregulated pumping and establishing a new legal precedent. The conflict pitted the traditional, individualistic rule of capture against the public trust doctrine, forcing Texans to choose between absolute property autonomy and the collective, long-term survival of the aquifer's unique, subterranean ecosystem for all stakeholders. For ordinary farmers and city dwellers, the shift meant mandatory pumping limits and stricter conservation measures, causing significant economic anxiety as the cost of water increased and traditional land use practices were suddenly subjected to intense, government-mandated regulatory scrutiny. In 2012, the Edwards Aquifer Habitat Conservation Plan was officially approved, creating a comprehensive, science-based framework to balance urban water demands with the survival of 8 endangered species, marking a major milestone in modern environmental governance for the entire region. Scientists confirm that the aquifer's health is directly linked to spring discharge, as the Texas blind salamander and fountain darter rely on consistent, high-quality water flow from the Comple and San Marcos springs to survive their specialized, subterranean habitats. The Edwards Aquifer Authority now employs advanced hydrological modeling and real-time monitoring to manage the aquifer, coordinating with federal agencies to ensure that pumping levels never drop below the critical thresholds required to protect the region's endangered aquatic biodiversity. Today, the EAHCP is widely studied as a national model for balancing rapid urban growth with environmental preservation, serving as a testament to how legal and scientific cooperation can resolve deep-seated conflicts over essential, shared natural resources. A lesser-known fact is that the Edwards Aquifer is one of the most productive and heavily used karst aquifers in the world, yet it remains incredibly sensitive to surface pollution and climate-induced drought cycles that threaten its long-term viability. The story of the Edwards Aquifer is a vital reminder that geography, policy, and human memory are inextricably linked, demonstrating that sustainable management of our natural resources is the only way to ensure prosperity for future generations in an increasingly water-stressed world. The EAA continues to navigate the complex tension between the rule of capture and the public trust doctrine, constantly refining its management strategies as climate change alters regional rainfall patterns and increases the demand for reliable, clean water supplies. Ultimately, the survival of the Edwards Aquifer proves that when private rights and public responsibilities are balanced through rigorous science and legal frameworks, a society can successfully protect its most essential resources against the pressures of growth and environmental change.